Alright guys, I'm going to take you through activity 5 as well as 6. The reason why activity 6 is showing now is because I'm going to actually open the textbook for activity 5. It is more of a written one, so I'm just going to answer a couple of them to take us through, as well as the operators. So activity 5 and 6 are about queries and the conditions that we can specify in order to display only certain values or fields, certain answers that we've asked our database. So, and then after that I will do activity 6, which has 3 parts, one in the Cellar Music School, one in the tour data, and one in the instrument activity 6. Right, so let's have a look at our queries then quickly. So this is repetition. So we've already looked at bigger than, smaller than. You know how a basic query works from grade 11 already. We have and, or, not. And it's in the textbook on page 202, we have some of these operators, and we're going to add some others to the list as well. So price, the and operator, we have, bigger than and smaller than. If we use dates, we have to have hashes around them. We've looked at that already when we looked at the validation rules when it came to dates. Then we have the or, the difference between and or, and both need to be true. With the or, it can be either. So, Then the list continues. The not operator is no, between, the like, and all of them you will see in action just now when we do our activities. And then the in operator, it is like a list. So we can list a few values with our in operator. So like the grade in 11 and 12, then it can be either. So this could be also 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We can omit. So the options are endless, but in some instances it's easier and more efficient to use the in operator than to list all the different values separately. All right. With the like operator, we can use our wildcards. So we have a question mark, which is a single character that it replaces, or an asterisk, which is any number of characters. So in our first instance, our like operator has BA asterisk, which means the word starts with BA and ends with any number of characters thereafter. Asterisk bar means that the word ends in bar but has any amount of characters before, and like asterisk bar asterisk means that somewhere in the word we have the letters BA, but there might be any number of characters before or after. And then this one, as I said, the question mark will replace a single or stands for a single character within this value. All right, you can, very, very important to highlight is if you have the between operator with numbers, both numbers are included. Okay, so minimum 10 and 50 is the maximum. So both of these numbers are included in this little condition. However, if you have words or letters between O and T, T is not included in that range. So it will only show any letter that is between O and S. All right. Also very important, it's not case sensitive, which means like love is equals like love with all smaller letters, lowercase or a capitalized letter. It doesn't matter. I can even say LOV small caps and the E capital. So all will return the same records. Right, let's go to the next page. which is activity 5. So we have a table over here. I'm going to zoom in slightly. It's a little bit blurred, but we get the drift. So I'm just going to go up and down to answer a couple of these questions. So how many, so we are supposed to write down the value in the number field, this value. So we have number 1 to 14 over there. Like a asterisk, apply to the surname field. So we go here, like means it starts with the letter A and any number of characters. So we look at the surname and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the first 6. So number 1 to 6 will be displayed with our criteria like a asterisk. Like asterisk N with a name. So now we will look at the name and we look at any name that ends with a letter N. So number 10 as well as number 14. So the answer would be 10 and 14. Between 100 and 200, price. So we look at our price and we see both of them because their numbers are included. So we have number 8 as well as number 13. That's the only ones between 100 and 200. And then between R and T for the name. So we look at the name and we have R over here, number 6. No, that would be surname. So name we will have to know because it's not sorted according to name. So we have to think. So anything else. So razor will be seen, R and S. So anything starting with R and S. So razor and Susan and Roderick obviously as well, but not Chidi because T is not included when it comes to letters. Like 07 with a cell phone number and grade 11. So both of these need to be true. So we look at our grade 11 and then we look at our cell phone number. But this one is not 07, so we ignore this. This one also not 07. This one is 07, so 4 would be included. 11, this one also 07, so 8 as well, 9 not, and 13 also not. You get the drift. So bigger than 215 and not true. Like, and you can see here that the cell phone number has now 3 optional or single characters. So anything that starts with 082 and ends in 2248. So we have our cell phone number. So I'm going to see here 2248, 082. So definitely number 9. And that's it. That's the only cell phone number that will be displayed. All right. Activity 5.2, you can do on paper yourself. Okay, let's do activity 6. I'm going to open the database Sela Music School again. And by closing this, and here we have our Sela Music database. It says the instructions are as follows. Display the surname, the name of all learners for whom no self number has been entered. So how do I create a query? I go click on create. So I can zoom in here, create, and then we select the query design. I select the table that it must be based on, in this case music school data. Then I select the field names that I want. So in this case, it asks me for the name. So I'm going to close this one before, so I can double click on the name. And then the surname as well. So it says display the surname, the name of all learners for whom no cell phone number has been entered. So, and then I'm going to select the cell phone number as well, cell number over there. And then we can go down, so you can see I've got the 3 fields. The cell phone number does not necessarily need to be displayed because all of them do not have cell phone numbers. So I'm going to untick this box, and I made a mistake by selecting name first and then surname. So if I want to change the order of that, I can highlight this and simply drag it over to the front. So now my surname is front. The criteria, so we're working in the criteria row over there, and my criteria, because it says no cell phone number, so I can say is null. And if I save this and I give my query now a name, and I'm going to, just because it's 6.a, I'm going to say 6a. And I'm going to run it, and you can see now it is all the surnames and the names of people that don't have cell phone numbers. Now, if you want to see and test that, then we can select this checkbox, save this and run it again, and you can see the cell phone field is empty. Right, we can close this query. We are done with 6a. 6b says display the surname, so I'm going to again click on create, query design. I'm going to select my music school data. I'm going to close that, and now it asks display the surname, so I'm going to select surname, the name, then the cell phone number, and of all learners between 12 and 18, so we need the age as well. There we go, including both these ages. So I'm going to go down. Again, we don't need to display because the the query itself asks for learners between 12 and 18. So I can simply say here in my criteria row between, and I can, with numbers, both are included. So I'm going to say 12 and 18, and that's it. And then if I click on save, I will name this 6b. We can run it just now, or we can run it now. There we go. So all the learners between, and we have to trust now that it is well between the ages between 12 and 18. Right, so let's close this one as well and do 6c. So we are going to create query design school. We're going to close this one, and now it says the teacher says that one of the learners gave him money for the tour, but he cannot remember which learner it was. All he can remember is that the learner's surname starts with fun. Display a list of all surnames, names, and self numbers of the learners who fulfill this criteria. So surnames, so I'm going to select surname, name, and cell number. Okay, that's it. Good. We are missing the name. Now we have the name, and again it's in the wrong order, so I can highlight this and drag it simply there. Okay, so the learner's surname starts with the letters fun. So in the criteria option, I can use my operator like, and because it's text, I'm going to use quotation marks. I'm going to say fun, asterisk, because it starts with that, and I'm going to close my quotation marks. Right, if I can save this and run and give the name 6c, okay, and now if I run this, I've got Van den Berg, Van der Merwe, Van der Westhuizen. We can make this larger so that we can see all of them. Van der Swan. Right, that concludes 6.1. For 6.2, I'm going to save this, going to close this database, and we are supposed to open the tour data database. And we have to do the following, and there are 4 queries that we need to do. Create a query called 500 to 1000, which will display the surnames and names of all the learners who have already paid between 500 and 1000 inclusive tour money field sorted by the surname in alphabetical order. So it is basically the same. We're going to apply a between and operator to the tour money field, but we're also going to sort it according to surname. So again, I click on create. I know this is a lot of repetition, but repetition actually helps us to solidify the work that we need to cover. So query design. I'm going to zoom out now. It's going to make it easier and quicker for me. And you already know what I'm going to select. So I'm going to select my database. And over here, let me just make it a bit bigger so that I can easily access all of them. So the surname, then the name, as well as between, so the tour money I need, and it needs to be sorted according to surname. So that's it. I'm going to, in my criteria, I'm going to say here between, and I'm going to say 500 and 1000. I'm going to leave it selected so that we can actually see that we've done it right. And then I'm going to sort it according to surname. So there's a sort, group, or row, and I can simply say select here in alphabetical order, so that would be ascending. I'm going to run it, and voila, we have our query. If I'm going to save this now, I will save it as they say 500 to 1000. All right, then number B, again, I'm going to click on create, query design, learners, close, and now the query asks us, we must name it outstanding money and display only the surname, name, and grade. So only the surname, name, and grade. Let's just find grade. There we go. Of all learners who have not paid any money. So I have to also select tour money, but it says I must only only display the first three. So this time I have to deselect it, and my criteria over here will be either, most probably, I'm not sure, we have to actually look at the learners table if it's empty or if the value is actually 0. So if I look at this and look at tour money, I can see that it's not empty, but actually the value 0 is put in there. So if I go back to my query, my criteria here cannot be is no, but equals 0. And then sort the records by learners' grades. So in this case, I will say cert, and again ascending. I will save this as outstanding money. Spelling is tricky. And then if I say view, now over here from 8 sorted all the learners who haven't paid anything yet. Right, again, create, query design, learners, add, and I've got my table. I'm going to make this slightly larger again if I get there. If I don't get there, we go. All right, C says create a query called mixed choir that will display the surname, names, and grade. So we have again surname, name, and grade of all mixed choir members. So we'll have to have a mixed choir over here, which is a yes, no field. In grades 10 to 12 who are not part of the dance group participation field. So I need participation as well, but again, we have to only display the first 3. So we untick these 2 boxes. So you have to really, really read the question carefully in order to know what is the requirements, what is actually asked. So for the mixed choir, my criteria will simply be equals yes, and then participation says we're not part of the dance group. So I can say here not, and then I will just say dance group. I hope that is actually the field. We can open our learners database and look at participation, dance group, yes, it's just like this. Mixed choir is just a yes, no field. Okay, let's go back to our query 1. And our grades are 10 to 12. So over here, I can say bigger or equal to 10 and smaller or equal to 12, or I can simply say between 10 and 12. Right, so save this, and the name that I must give is called mixed choir. And if I view that, I have all my learners that are not participating in the dance group, but that are part of the mixed choir between grade 10 and 12. Right, and the last one in this particular one, again, create design view learners at close, and it asks us to create a query called dance group that will display the surname, name, and grade. So again, surname, name, and grade. Now I did it too. We can actually select this and press the delete button. It will delete our mistaken column. So it asks us to display those of all the boys in the dance group. So I need the participation, but I also need the gender, because I have to specify that it is boys who have paid at least 1,000 tour money as well. So tour money is also required, as well as all the girls who participate in the girls' choir. And so yes, I've got participation, girls' choir, and we're also a member of the mixed choir. So I need the mixed choir as well. So again, only displayed the first 3, so we untick all these. And now we can start with our criteria. So all the boys, gender, criteria, I will say boys, tour money, at least 1,000 rand, so I say bigger or equal to 1,000, that in the participation are part of the dance group. So I will say here equals dance group, or you can simply say dance group. If I click there, it will select the quotation marks for us. And now it says or, and all the girls who participate. It's an or because we want to display either the boys or the girls. So we click on and select the row that says or. So here I will say girls. So all the criteria that I add into the or row will apply to only this to this category. So girls who participate in the girls choir. So here I will say girls choir, and who are also member of the mixed choir. So I will say here yes. I'm just going to check whether girls choir is spelled correctly. So over here, girls, and then a apostrophe afterwards. So very important that we spell this very correctly. Girls choir, girls, and that's it. So I'm going to save this as dance group and say OK. And now if I click on view, there's no one there. And why is that? Because somewhere I made a mistake. I said boys or girls. Let's quickly see what is. Oh, it actually says M or F for gender. So let's go back to our dance group, and here gender I will have to say M for boys and F for girls. And if I run this now, you can see there are a number of values in my query. All right, so that's the second one. And the third one, I'm going to save this, close it, and yes. And now we have to open the instruments activity 6. And the instructions are as follows. Do the following. Create a query called before 2017. So I again click on create, query design, instrument add, and now I select the fields that I'm asked to. In this case, the serial number and the instrument type, as well as the date bought, which is there. There we go. Fields of all instruments that were bought before 2017. So my criteria over here will be smaller than I would say the first, and now it's a date, so we need a hash. Let me zoom in there so that you can see what I'm actually typing in there. So smaller than hash, and because it's before 2017, so the 1st of January 2017 would be too late. So I will say smaller than the 1st of January 2017, and I will say a hash. All right, so I will save this, and the name for this one is before 2017. Say OK, and now if I run this query, you can see only the ones that are 2016 are actually visible. All right, then the second one, so I can close this one now. The second one, again, create, form design, instrument, data, and it asks us to create a query called must check that will display only the type of instrument. So instrument type, let me zoom out so that I can see that I actually selected. The type of instrument, it's replacement value. So replacement value, and it's owner. So owner as well. Of all instruments that were checked more than 2 years, in other words, more than 730 days after they were bought. So I will have to say checked bought. So that were checked more than 2 years after. So over here in my date bought criteria, I'm going to zoom in there so that you can see again, because it's, so we say bigger than, and it's quickly, now I have to think, we have the field date. I might make a mistake now. I just quickly have to check that out myself. Plus 730. Oh, wait. There's actually another field here that's called date checked. Okay. We don't want to display the date bought actually. So over here, date checked is bigger than, and any field that we're referring to goes into square brackets. So I will say date bought plus 730. Remember, with dates, there are numerical values, so we can add numbers to them. And I'm going to just say here equals to as well, or more than 270, so bigger than that is fine. Okay, so we can save this as must checked. Okay, and we will look at, You're going to run this, and date checked is now a value over this. So if I actually select this date as well, we can now see that there's at least a minimum of 2 years between date bought and date checked. Okay, the last one in this particular activity, I'm going to close this one again. I'm going to save it, yes. Okay, again, create, query design, instrument data, and now we are asked to, allow me to just make this a bit larger again, modify the existing query value. Oh, glory, I must read these questions before I do them. Okay, all this for nothing, so I'm going to close this. No, don't need to save that. Okay, how do I open this? I can select it, right click on it, design view, and there is a couple of criteria already given. Modify the existing query value so that it will display only the following: the instruments that have a replacement value of more than 5,000. There it says smaller than, so well, I have to change this to bigger than 4,000, as well as insured instruments that were checked in December 2018. So I will here have to say insured yes, because that's a yes no question. And then over here, checked, I can't simply say smaller than. I actually have to say bigger or equal to, and now we use a hash. Oh, well, the date is here 2018, 12/01, and let me make the field a bit bigger so that you can see everything. So it is invalid value. Somewhere I made, oh, I forgot the hash to close it. So it can be like this, or I can use the between this date and this date without the smaller than and equal and bigger than equal sign. So if I save this and run this, nothing is shown because somewhere I made a mistake again. Let's look at the insured field. Insured is a yes and no number. Yes. Let's open the values again. It's already open. There we go. Bigger or equal to this date. I think there might be, because my date's set differently. I might have to say here 01/12/2018, and I will change my other date as well. That might very be 31/12/2018. Let's see if that will make a difference. Okay. Let's close my table so that I can actually view this. And still nothing. So it might very well be that there are none. So let's take this, for example, out, and my criteria as well, just to check that my date is actually correct. And you can see my date is actually correct. They are between, oh, here's a date that says November. Okay, let's quickly see. Bigger or equal to the 1/12/2000. It needs to be bigger than that, but smaller than that. Okay, I'm not sure now. I'm not going to re-record this video. I'm going to figure that one out, and then I'm going to let you know via WhatsApp. All right, guys, that will then conclude activity 5 and 6.